right, it's the water filter. Check that off. Takes care of that. Should be all good except for... Oh, yes, that's right. Hey everybody, Syntax77 here. Almost forgot. You creeped me out a little bit being in my basement just there. I'm multitasking today. I'm actually packing for a trip I'm going on tomorrow in the White Mountains. Got my backpack here, back to my ultralight backpack. But what I'm down to right now is just getting my clothing together and popping that in a bag, and then also, more specifically, getting together the clothing I'm going to actually wear to hike in. And I have had some people out there request that I do a specific video on what I actively hike in while on the trail. I've done some what's in my pack videos, but today we're going to talk about my actual clothes on the trail. So I've got them all right here, and then just for good measure, I will also go over any other backup clothing, spare clothing, etc. that I have in my pack. But first, let's get started with what I'm actually wearing. So here we go. One item at a time, let's go right through it. By the way, this is a 3-day, 2-night trip. When I show up at the trailhead, I'm going to be wearing t-shirt, right? Synthetic t-shirt. That's the key here. You may have heard me preach this before. I'm going to preach it again. I do all synthetic. Yes, some of your parents out there, or maybe even you, will say, I've hiked plenty of times in blue jeans. I never died. That's true. You're not going to like burst into flames if you wear blue jeans. In fact, you might be less likely to burst into flames because this synthetic stuff is pretty flammable. But it also wicks away sweat and dries a lot faster than cotton. And it is more likely to keep you warm. Actually, it definitely will keep you warm while wet compared to something like cotton. So everything I'm going to show you is either synthetic or, in the case of my socks, well, I'm jumping ahead. But anyway, so the t-shirt, nothing special about it. I have several brands. This is a Hanes X something version. I don't know. It's polyester. I've got some Gildan ones, just whatever's on sale, Champion brand, whatever. Just make sure that it doesn't have any cotton in it. Check it out. There usually be polyester, sometimes a mix of some other synthetic stuff, but veer away from the cotton. So cheap t-shirt, probably get one for $5 to $10, and I wear one of these on the trail. I should also mention the trip we're going on is to the White Mountains in New Hampshire. The temp range for this trip is going to be between, I'd say realistically, the way things are looking on the forecast, probably 40 and 70 degrees max. This stuff here that I'm showing you will pretty much cover any 3 season, because in the whites it could very easily go down. I'm prepared for possibly mid-30s. So in that case, it might be pretty cold in the morning, maybe 50 degrees, 40 degrees when we hit the trail. And I'll have this long sleeve shirt as well, synthetic. Again, this one is a Champion brand, nothing super fancy. We don't have any real hiking brand stuff yet. This is just whatever I can find on sale at whatever store I happen to be at. This one is a Champion shirt. By the way, the t-shirt was around 5 ounces, and this long sleeve shirt is going to rack in around 7 ounces. Okay, I do keep weight in mind. So this is nice and light. It'll just take the chill off, cut down on wind, and then as I warm up, I can push the sleeves up, right? And then eventually I'll probably just toss this in my pack, shove it in there, and continue on in my t-shirt. So I'll be wearing this long sleeve, synthetic, lightweight tee. All right, here's an important piece of gear, and here's where I actually spent some money, okay? Actual hiking pants. In this case, these are EMS convertible camp pants, I think they call them. Just about every camping or hiking or outdoor brand out there has something like this in their catalog. And it's a pair of hiking pants with a zipper that you can zip off the legs. Like that, see? Now the leg came off. And if I did that twice, you get the picture. It would be a pair of shorts. Pretty versatile. I bought these going on 5 years ago. I wear this same pair of pants. As those of you who have seen some of the videos probably noticed, I'm like a cartoon character. I'm always wearing these same pants. I do have a gray pair that I bought back then as well, but honestly, I usually just take, as you'll see, one pair of pants, and it's usually these. I just like the color. They've been on a lot of trips. I like them. I've heard people bring up before that that zipper is a possible point of failure, so they avoid the convertible pants. I can tell you that myself and Mike, my friend Mike, bought the same exact pair of pants. Well, he has a different pair. We don't share them. We bought the same pair from EMS 4 years ago plus, and neither one's ever had a problem with the zipper, so I'm not worried about that anymore. I like that because if you're hiking and it's hot, you just zip that right off. Also, an advantage of that for me that I found is when you're hiking, sometimes the bottom of your pants get muddy and whatnot, and at the end of the night you might want to get in your hammock or your tent, your sleeping bag, and everything is clean except for the bottom of your pants. Just zip off the bottom of your pants, let them hang outside. They won't get your sleeping bag dirty, and when you wake up in the morning you can zip them back on. Ta-da! They also have the cargo pockets on the side, which is great. I find that super useful, and when I'm without it, I find myself really missing it. So you can just shove all kinds of random maps, snacks, gear, whatever. You got plenty of space in those cargo pockets on each side, and then, of course, back pocket, front pockets, etc. It's got a built-in belt. If you really want to, you can take it off, but it's nice and adjustable. I do find on these EMS ones, sometimes when I'm hiking, my hip belt, the pressure from it will cause these to pop off. It's not the end of the world, but it does happen. And yeah, those are my pants. So these, just about every brand, they're usually around 50 bucks, which if you're first starting out backpacking, at least for me, I was like, $50 for pants, what? But like I said, if you buy one nice pair, it should last you the rest of your hiking career. Well worth it. And you can kind of dollar cost average with the cheap shirts I showed you, but invest in the pants will be at least my suggestion. Pants, done. Let's move on. I usually wear a hat. Okay, this isn't synthetic. Sometimes I have a synthetic hat. Sometimes I wear a cottony one like this. Whatever. It's not life or death. So I guess I lied. Sometimes I do have cotton, and it'll be a hat like this. If I'm expecting it to be wet, then I will bring along an actual, I think I have a outdoor research hat that's synthetic. But if this gets wet, I just put it on the outside of my pack. I just usually wear a hat anyway, so I wear one in the woods. It also keeps the shade off of you. Also, if there's a little chill in the air, just having even a lightweight ball cap on can reduce your loss of body heat, so that's good. Next up, underwear. Once again, synthetic. Just go out and shop around, find a sport or athletic version of your favorite brand of underwear. Or if you're like me, you don't have a favorite brand of underwear, so you just buy whatever's on sale. These ones are Reebok. They happen to be pretty good. Once again, just make sure they're not made out of cotton. In this case, they're made out of, the label wore off. Who knows? They're probably polyester. Next up, socks. Now, I did mention earlier that socks are my one thing that is not necessarily synthetic. I do wool socks. I used to do synthetic, but I have learned to invest in the wool socks. I was scared to at first, I must admit. You're going to pay about 15 bucks a pair for a nice pair. In this case, they're darn tough. I also like the merino wool, smart wool guys, whatever. Whatever your preference is, I think it is good to invest in a nice pair of wool socks. Wool, naturally, I don't know, let's just call it magic of nature, keeps you warm when you need to be warm and keeps you cool when you need to be cool, which is perfect for something like socks, which can get really hot when you're trudging along, or cold at the end of the night when you're hanging around camp. Also, when wet, still works just as well. Unlike, someone say it, cotton. Right, so I like the old wool socks here. You could get synthetic ones, whatever you want to do. Then, of course, there's footwear. That is important. Now, I'll be honest, for this trip, I'm still trying to figure out what to wear, but I'm going to show you the 3 options that I have that I use for just about every trip, and I'll show you the reason for each. I'm on the fence because I don't know how wet this trip is going to be. I got to check the forecast again, and well, we'll get into the reason for that. All right, so check it out. These are Merell hiking like trail runners, and these I believe are their Moabs ventilators or something like that. Either way, pair of trail runners. They are not waterproof in any way whatsoever. They will totally get wet. But for a drier trip or warmer trip, where if they get wet, they'll dry out quick, whatever, I will wear these. These are actually my day-to-day shoes as well. But because I'm doing a lighter setup, I will often wear these in a drier conditions and get away with it, and it feels fine. But on this trip, if it's a little wet, I really don't want to slosh up my sneakers that I wear on a regular basis. So the other option in the trail runner category is I have a pair of Adidas Terrex Swift-Rs. Yeah, that's a mouthful. But anyway, they're basically Gore-Tex trail runners, and they do work really well. I've stepped in some puddles with these and submerged them for a decent amount of time, and they don't get wet. Now, of course, if you go past the ankle, the water's going to get in, and then they're probably never going to dry out. So for like stream crossings and stuff, I wouldn't even bother bringing this. I'd just go ahead and bring something like this, let them get wet and dry out. But if it's going to be like a light rain or walking through a lot of undergrowth and stuff like that, you know, get all that dew on your shoes, These will keep my feet dry, or like the occasional couple inch deep stream crossing. I don't have to worry too much with these. So these are possible. I've worn these in the whites before. One thing to point out, the Adidas shoes here have the Adidas tread. Merrell's have Vibram tread. Most hiking boots use the Vibram tread. You know why? Because it's awesome. And I can tell you from personal experience, these Adidas treads, no comparison to the Vibram. Matter of fact, one of my worst slip and falls, and it was mostly, no, it was 90% carelessness on my fault, but nonetheless, I wish I had the Vibrams. I might not have slipped, was when I was wearing these. They don't have nearly the grip, but I do like the capability to stay dry. So those are a contender. And then my third option, classic, old school, mid-top boots. I might bring these. If I'm expecting it to be wet and sloppy, I will bring these because I can just beat them up, slop them up. I'm only using these for hiking. Also, if I'm carrying more weight than, say, my 20-pound total ultralight setup, I'm going to bring these for the ankle support. And also, I'm back and forth lately. Maybe I need to do a separate video on it, but lately, I don't know. I'll put it this way. If I feel like my ankle's bothering me, or if the terrain's going to be real rocky and I just want some more peace of mind, I'll go ahead and wear these. Yeah, they weigh twice as much, so that adds to fatigue, but a nice pair of boots, I don't know, I got away from it for a while. Now I feel like I might be getting back into it, but I don't know. So I might bring the mid tops. These are Garmont Zeniths, I believe, mids. They are treated somewhat, a little water resistance, but like the other ones, if I step in a puddle, they're going to pretty much get soaked after a couple splashes. But they do have good ankle support. That pretty much covers everything that I wear on the trail. Wait, one more thing. Sunglasses. I always have a pair of sunglasses usually on my head ready to go, or in my pack. Keep the sun out of your eyes, so technically I guess that's clothing, so we'll throw that in there. So next up, let's move on to the other clothing gear that I pack, because that's literally everything I hike in. Pretty simple, right? What else do I bring? Well, the other stuff I'm going to shove in my pack, it's not much. It's right here. Synthetic hat. Weighs about an ounce. Pretty cool. It's lightweight. Again, this is not a winter trip. This is like a 3-season trip. When I sleep at night, I wear this. I usually pull it down. It looks a little better. I have a quilt, which actually is my backdrop. My hammock gear 40-degree quilt here doesn't have a hood over my head, so I'll wear this at night to keep my head toasty, as well as in the morning. But I pretty much save this for sleep, so it's nice and dry and not sweated on during the day. Next thing I'm going to pack, instead of a spare pair of hiking pants, which weighs a little more, like 12 ounces, 3/4 of a pound, I won't bring that. I'll just bring a pair of shorts, because I'm going to hike every day in those hiking pants. I'm going to wear these around camp and in my sleeping bag, or in my case, a quilt. That way, if I get wet during the day in the rain or sweat or mud or whatever, I got a clean pair of shorts that I can put on and be comfy around camp and when I sleep. Now, on top of that, because of the temp range for this trip, and especially in the whites where anything could change, I'm also going to bring a pair of long johns, as they would be commonly called, or a base layer if you want to be fancy. These are Patagonias. I bought these because I forgot to bring a pair when I was out in Utah, and all they had at the gear shop was high-end brand stuff. And I've grown to really love these. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, because honestly, you can go shop around and you can find something for a fraction of the cost that works really well. So anyway, some sort of base layer is what I'm going to bring for my legs. And I actually usually do this. It's not the most fashionable thing, and your wife or girlfriend is maybe going to look at you weird. Keep that in mind. But I'll just wear this and then a pair of shorts over top. Makes you look really cool around camp, but it'll also give you a nice warm, dry option at camp. And I will not hike in either one of these. Ideally, it's not a winter trip. This is just for cool nights and sleeping and those cold mornings when you're getting together your stuff, doing your camp chores. Then I'll switch back into all the same stuff I showed you over there. Now, you might be saying, what about your shirt? No spare shirt? Yeah, I usually do. Nowadays, I almost always bring a spare shirt. We already went over the shirt, right? The t-shirt. Okay, so same thing. I'll bring one. That's up to you. This is a 3-day, 2-night trip. Ideally, I'm going to use this just for sleeping as well. And then at some point, depending on how sweaty and dirty I am, I'll make the decision to switch over to this and hike in it. It might be on the second day. It might be on the third day. I might just be dirty and wear the original shirt the whole trip. But either way, I do bring a spare. Again, the idea is if I get super dirty or rained on or whatever, I have a dry version of everything every night to sleep in, which brings me to the next thing, and that is a spare pair of socks. I think I'm bringing one on this trip. Again, every night I put on the dry sleeping pair. On the last day, I'll leave them on and hike out in these. And then I'll probably have my cleanest socks as I re-enter society. Sometimes, and I go back and forth on this, sometimes I'll bring a third pair so I have a pair for each day. Socks are important, but even on a trip longer than 3 days, I don't think I'd ever bring more than 3 pairs of socks total, because if it's a longer trip, you can always just wash them in a stream, hang them on your pack, and let them air out. Very similar to the underwear situation. I'll bring spare underwear as well, at least one pair, similar to the t-shirt. At some point I'll just decide, okay, it's time for new underwear. Or if it's going to be a hotter trip, or just depending on conditions, a pair per day. Again though, I wouldn't bring more than 3. I can always wash one and dry one on a longer trip. Also, continuing my theme of a version of everything for around camp, I don't know if I'm doing it this trip, but sometimes I will bring a pair of flip-flops, a lightweight, cheaper pair, but not too cheap because I want them to be comfy. I might be walking on some kind of iffy terrain around camp, so I don't want them to be too terrible, but this is just a pair of flip-flops that sometimes I bring. They will cost me a little extra weight. In this case, almost 7 ounces, so that's why I usually avoid bringing them. But I tell you what, it is nice sometimes to get to camp and you maybe walk through a stream and your boots are wet, which, by the way, the best way to dry them out is to keep them on as long as possible. But nonetheless, it's pretty nice sometimes to take those boots off, let your feet kind of air out, and nothing does that better than some flip-flops. Although, if it's cold out, that might be a little painful. But that's an option. Sometimes I do bring the flip-flops as well. And another item that I really enjoy, and the reason that I bring that lighter weight long sleeve shirt, a down jacket. Now, of course, you could omit this on a warmer trip, but I bring this unless it's going to be downright hot. Most of the places I go, at least for those first few hours in the morning, when you're first warming up, it's cold out. This comes in super handy, weighs about 9 ounces, and I find it well worth it. Especially if you're going to somewhere like the White Mountains where I'm going. You never know. You go above tree line, it can be a whole nother atmosphere up there. It gets super cold. Throw this guy on and you're in a much warmer situation. It also packs down really small. This particular model is by Montbell, and it's their UL Ultralight Parka. The Parka meaning that it has the hood on it. You can go even lighter than 8.5 ounces if you get the version without that, but I like it because it's like a full jacket. And then if I combine it with my rain jacket, I've got kind of a full windbreaker and down combo going on, which can be really warm. The rain jacket I bring, by the way, and even if it's not going to be rain on the forecast, I still bring this. It's only around 4.5, 5 ounces max. It's a Dri-Ducks rain parka. It is about 20 bucks for a pair of this and the pants. They will rip kind of easily. They're borderline disposable, but I've had this one for a couple years now. It's been fine. Just keep it in the pack, and like I said, it's a super lightweight windbreaker. If it's going to be more extreme temperatures where it's life or death if I don't have my windbreaker, I'm not going to bring this because it might rip, although you can fix it with a little duct tape. In that case, I would bring my heavier grade EMS shell. I think that covers everything at this point. So there you have it, the clothing I wear as well as the clothing I pack for backpacking. Please share with me in the comment section below. I'd love to know some feedback from you guys. Maybe you think some of these options are crazy. Maybe you have some better options. Share it with me. I want to learn more, and you guys teach me tons. So go ahead and post below. Let me know what you use, what you like, and I think that pretty much covers it. So until next time, I'm Syntax77. Have fun out there.